I've noticed that a lot of people get confused every single time Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin because they wonder, why hasn't the price gone up? Why hasn't the Bitcoin price moved? What is going on? Is the Bitcoin bull market multiplier broken because Michael Saylor just bought $600 million of Bitcoin and I didn't see the price really go up or do anything, right? And I want to just talk a little bit about how Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin and how someone with that amount of resources would go around it, and you know, to a certain extent, why you and I will not have access to those services, and to a certain extent, why you and I could have access to those services. So, firstly, to understand how markets move, you have to understand net inflow. It's not about the Michael Saylor coming out and saying that, MicroStrategy has just acquired $600 million of Bitcoin, because I feel like what everyone assumes is that when he says MicroStrategy has just acquired $600 million of Bitcoin, people assume that he's just done that day. Like he's gone, like you and I would do, gone into the market, wired $600 million to Coinbase and pressed buy on the market. That's not what happens. That's not how Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy or anyone with a significant amount of market moving capability is going to do that, right? It's all about net inflows, and that's extremely important. I wrote a tweet on it. I'm going to put the link to the tweet in the description so you can go read it and follow the maths on Twitter too. But this is why a lot of people are not understanding what's going on in Bitcoin, and why I think it's extremely important to understand how the institutional world is going to approach Bitcoin, so you can actually understand how Michael Saylor can buy $600 million worth of Bitcoin and it not move the market. And again, it's why I really need you to subscribe to this channel so that the YouTube algorithm can get spanked and we can get this information out to people that can understand. Wait a second, there can be a lot of Bitcoin buying and the price doesn't even move. That means one day it is going to be extremely late for me and I'm going to miss the boat. So please subscribe to the channel, not just mine, all other Bitcoin creators, so we can get the message of Bitcoin out to more and more people as a result of the YouTube algorithm. Now, let's say someone comes in, right? Remember, it's all about the net inflow when it comes to the multiplier effect, not the total value that comes in. So if $600 million comes into Bitcoin, but $600 million also wants to leave. So $600 million in, $600 million out. There is a zero-sum effect. 600 in, 600 out. Nothing's happened in the market. Bitcoin's just exchanged hands, right? But if $600 million goes in and only $100 million wants to sell, now a multiplier effect can start. Someone like MicroStrategy is not going to go in and hit submit on a $600 million market order. It's just not going to happen, right? The strategy for buying Bitcoin for them is very, very sophisticated. I would assume that the purchasing that they did for that $600 million of Bitcoin, based on the fact that there's about $25 million, $30 million of selling demand, took place over the space of a month and a half, maybe even 2 months, depending on what was going on with the liquidity in the market. Because they're also not the only player in the market, right? So it could have taken a whole quarter for that to actually execute. It works like this. Their purchaser, right, in which case we know it's Coinbase, will have a buying strategy with an algorithm attached to that's sitting in the market, buying every single small order of Bitcoin that shows up on the order tape until the $600 million is fulfilled, right? And this could take days, weeks, months to do, right? So in essence, what will happen is MicroStrategy will wire $600 million to Coinbase. Coinbase will execute their high-end algorithm to sit there and go, oh, John Smith wants to sell, $10,000 of Bitcoin. Great, we'll buy that, right? So the $600 million won't even enter the market as a buy order until the $10,000 sell order shows up. So the $10,000 sell order shows up, and the algorithm jumps in and takes that off the market, right? And then another $1 million of sell orders show up, and the algorithm jumps in and takes that off the market. Someone wants to sell, $1,000 of Bitcoin. The algorithm jumps in and takes that off the market. So really, nobody really even knows how much capital is sitting on the sidelines waiting to acquire Bitcoin like this, because this is a sophisticated way to do this without moving the market. What this basically allows is that the Bitcoin just changes hands over a period of days, weeks, and months. So the market doesn't actually move. Just whatever comes on the market in terms of selling just gets snapped up, right? There's no open buy order for $600 million. It's sitting on the sideline waiting for those little orders to pop in. So what that, again, you're basically going, oh, John Smith wants to sell that Bitcoin. Great. MicroStrategy now owns that Bitcoin. Nothing's happened in the market. It's zero, absolutely zero sum on the day, right? This is obviously a great strategy to acquire Bitcoin for a big corporation because it doesn't reveal the hand and or the size of the ultimate purchase. All it does is it takes these sell orders off the market very, very, very slowly. And that's the way to do it. That's the way I would do it if I had a market moving position. Because if you did go and do a fat finger $600 million purchase, you would find yourself with Bitcoin sitting at $45,000 and now you've shot yourself in the foot. So this is the best way of actually doing it, right? So, you know, this works really well in sideways markets. It works less well in down markets, and it works the worst in up markets because you're actually chasing the FOMO. So don't get it confused thinking that with these doom and gloom boomers and $10 a month DCA gang members out here telling you that because MicroStrategy acquired $600 million of Bitcoin and the price didn't really move on that day, it means that nothing's happening, right? There's no bull market multiplier. There's nothing. So the multiple really starts when the net purchasing is much higher than the net selling, and that eventually has to happen because you have a finite asset. So while MicroStrategy's current way of acquiring Bitcoin works with what sub a $1 billion purchase, you know, every 6 months or whatever it is on a $44 billion liquid market, when the market orders go up to $5 billion, it won't work as well because these sell orders will be being snapped up off the market so quickly that the market will realize, oh shit, there's a buyer sitting in the background acquiring this. This is nothing for you and I to concern ourselves with. This is for the pro traders and the teams at Coinbase and the teams at all these bigger exchanges that are helping people acquire this high amount of Bitcoin. So, you know, again, it's working right now, but it's not working when the buys, the daily buys get bigger and it goes to someone coming in with, hey, we want to buy $1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Then Michael Saylor's in there with another $500 million worth of Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. And now all of these sales or all of these buy orders are one on top of each other for the next 6 months. That's when the multiplier effect kicks into gear. That's when the cycle starts. You know, what will basically happen is when people see those orders sitting there consistently snapping up those sell orders, they'll start removing their sell orders from the market. That's when the cycle starts. So the question and the main point here that I wanted to point out is that Michael Saylor is not out here fat fingering $600 million worth of buys. That's happening over a period of a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, like, you know, a month, 3 months. It's taken time to do that. And they're doing it in the most intelligent way possible because they're just trying to extract whatever Bitcoin comes up for sale from the market. You could definitely have it that for a month, Michael Saylor could have been maintaining the equilibrium price of Bitcoin with no one else buying, because it doesn't take much to maintain the equilibrium price of Bitcoin. It was like $25-30 million a day of purchasing. So again, Michael Saylor is moving the Bitcoin off of the market. That is a terrifying thing for you and I, because at some point the supply will dwindle enough where the buy orders outstrip the supply orders, and that's when you start seeing your parabolic run. The problem is because there's just no fat fingering going on of, you know, $600 million buys. We can't see that and we can't feel that. We do not know when that is going to start, which is why my message is very simple. You need to get to 1 Bitcoin before that happens. When is that going to happen? I don't know. All I know is that the most hardest, scarcest asset is being taken off the market on a daily basis by these people who are never ever going to sell it. And you're sitting there wondering, how much time do I have to get to 1 Bitcoin? I don't know. Nobody can answer that question. One day it will be too late. And that's why I'm out here doing these videos to help people understand. It's not really about the price at which you acquire it. At this point, it's about getting to 1 Bitcoin. And ultimately, you know, that's why I'm here on YouTube. That's why I need your help to share the channel, share the videos, and also subscribe, because that's what gets this out in front of people before. Like, for example, Michael Saylor, they just bought 16,000 Bitcoin from MicroStrategy. That's 16,000 people less in the world who will ever be able to be whole coiners. One entity just made it impossible for 16,000 people to ever own one Bitcoin. And this is just going to continue to grow, grow, and grow as BlackRock now comes into it with the ETF and everything else. So, please help me share this message. It's extremely important. People have to get to one Bitcoin ASAP, and they have to understand what's going on and understand how the institutions are going to be buying, because one day they're going to be sitting there with the price going sideways, and then it's going to spike up, and then they're going to go, shit, I missed the boat again. That's what I don't want. That's why I'm trying to help translate what happens in the market to the real world, so you can actually understand how this is happening. How is it that MicroStrategy can buy 16,000 Bitcoin and it, quote unquote, not move the market? Right? That's what I'm trying to help people understand. So please share the video. And ultimately, no matter what Michael Saylor is doing, no matter what MicroStrategy is doing, no matter how long this takes or how short it takes or when this kicks off, there are always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.